Hi guys, Paul Kelso of Sky News is reporting here that the Tories have finally decided to take back control after years of refusing to do so and start checking goods at the Port of Dover. If you remember from last year, the Port of Dover had spent millions of pounds upgrading facilities there, to be told by the business secretary at the time, Jacob Rees-Mogg, that it was all for nothing, as checks would not be done. The argument back then was that it would be too expensive. Now businesses are worried that the checks will cause both delays and extra costs. First, have a listen to what Jacob Rees-Mogg said back then, and then Paul.
We're admitting that this could save £1 billion, which means that checks would have cost £1 billion. I thought post-Brexit checks were not going to be disruptive.
That's why we're not adopting them. This would have been an act of self-harm if we'd gone ahead with it. It would have increased costs for people, and we are trying to reduce costs. So that's the purpose of not going ahead with them and trying to ensure that the border flows as smoothly as possible, which benefits everybody. Free trade is hugely advantageous to consumers.
Do you know what impact this will actually have on prices in supermarkets?
Well, some costs it would be quite significant. That if you look at small deliveries of things like cheese, you were talking about 71% increase maximum level on the retail price. And frankly, at that level, goods just wouldn't have come in.
That this morning the government has announced plans on dealing with imports through Dover and into the UK. Nearly 3 years after Brexit, they will finally start checking goods coming into the UK in October. There are warnings from industry that that is going to cause problems for food supply chains, possibly increase inflation and the risk of food shortages. So but whether you're trying to leave as a passenger through Dover this weekend or goods being imported from Europe through Dover, it is a pinch point for the realities of post-Brexit life in the UK. And we've got a lot more to come on this particular route in and out of the UK as the year goes on.
So last year they said we're not carrying out the checks on goods because it's too expensive. It's going to add costs to businesses and it creates delays. And now they're saying they're going to carry out the checks at the end of the year. And businesses are saying, please don't do that because it's going to add costs and it's going to create delays. Now, what's the motivation here? I don't know, because I had originally believed they would have to carry out the checks eventually because of the World Trade Organization. Remember the World Trade Organization? Well, there was a risk at the time that members of that organization would raise issues with the body in respect to the United Kingdom, saying that excuse me, that the UK was giving the EU an unfair advantage because they were not carrying out checks. I had presumed that they were carrying out checks on goods coming from World Trade Organization members, excluding the EU. But it seems that's not the case either. So the Port of Dover is not carrying out checks on goods coming in from the EU or from other WTO countries, which means that anything can be coming in and it's not being checked. Now, last year there was a report on something like 20 trucks were checked and 19 of them contained contraband, stuff that was not fit for human consumption. The Tories have turned Dover into a smuggling paradise where you can just send whatever you want in and it won't get checked. Or if it does get checked, it'll be something like once a year. They don't have the resources available. And what's frustrating also is that the Port of Dover spent huge amounts of money to upgrade, and they were told, actually, you can just bulldoze a lot of this, these buildings that you put in because you're not actually going to use them. So money was spent to create infrastructure, and it seems that that infrastructure was destroyed. And now, towards the end of 2023, it seems actually, yeah, you might need that infrastructure after all. What's the motivation here? Probably the fact that a lot of stuff is coming in and it's not getting checked. And this is a risk to farming, it's a risk to public health, it's a risk to businesses as well. But the government have to balance the risk versus the cost, because increasing checks will slow down the flow of goods coming in and it will increase costs, which the consumer will eventually have to absorb at a time when inflation is still in double figures. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.